And joining us now to talk more about the policy-making process is NCBA President Todd Wilkinson. Todd, can you explain to our viewers just a little bit about how policy is actually formulated and developed within NCBA?
Kevin, that's probably the thing that gives me the greatest pride in NCBA is the fact that all our policy comes from the grassroots. You know, you hear that term and you think, what does that mean? Right. Well, I can tell you from my perspective, it starts with my local cattlemen's affiliate coming up with ideas, passing it on up to their state cattlemen's association, and then that comes into meetings at NCBA where the issues are debated, and like minds get together and it's either passed or failed. But that's my marching orders, and that's the officers' marching orders, is the grassroots policy that comes from the ground, not from the top down. It comes from our producers.
And I think that's a common myth. Some people might think that you become president and you push forward the agenda that you have in your own mind's eye, but in reality, what is the role of volunteer leaders as it relates to executing against those policy decisions?
Literally, we take that policy and that's our roadmap. Okay. So we look at that roadmap and then try and stay in those guideposts. And as long as we can do that, we know we're working for the membership. And that's really truly what we're all about.
You talk about membership. Obviously, a lot of our work is done in Washington, D.C. Why is having such a strong membership base so critical to our effectiveness on Capitol Hill?
Well, I can just relate it to something that happened to me recently. I flew in for a meeting in Washington, D.C., and I was sitting around with a group of other commodity organizations at a supper. And somebody came up and tapped me on the shoulder and turned around, and it was my senior senator. And obviously, to have a relationship with your senator and where I could call him out on some policy issues, that puts us in a unique position. So I don't know if all of our members realize how close they are to their representatives, and the fact that we have people in Washington, D.C. that can constantly stress those issues, that's the biggest part of it. The relationships is what get things done.
Indeed.
And it's those relationships in Washington, D.C. that get us over the finish line.
Now, I ask a lot of volunteer leaders this question because, quite honestly, over the last year or two, there's been issues where segments of the industry have been on opposite side. Packers, cattle feeders, cow-calf folks. Why, in your opinion, is it so important to have one organization that represents all of the beef industry from gate to plate?
Well, because if you just single out, and so I'm involved in multi-facets myself personally. I'm in a cow-calf operation with my son. I feed cattle in a feeding setting. You know, and if I just focused on one issue, then I'm ignoring all the other issues that go forward. And so often we say, well, this organization will claim to be the voice of the cow-calf producer. Well, what happens with the stocker, the feeder, and the retail and the packer segment? If we don't all act together, we're going to fall apart.
As they once said, I think it was Ben Franklin, we either all hang together or we'll all hang separately, right?
Yes, sir.
Last question. Why is now such an important time to be a member of NCBA?
Because the challenges that are there are not going to go away. And right now we're in a setting where everything is coming at us in a regulatory fashion. Congress can't agree on anything and get it passed. Now we're dealing with an administration that's going at us tooth and nail with new regulations. And the only way to fight regulations is either be in the courtroom or be involved in the process. And we're going to do a two-pronged approach, and we're going at them with both fists.
Thank you so much for the update, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
You can support the work being done for the beef industry by becoming a member of NCBA. You'll be sustaining the work of NCBA in defending and advocating for the cattle industry in Washington, D.C. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can visit the website ncba.org.